I said maybe I married the wrong guy as a joke. He packed and left without a word. I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible, but there's something about making one stupid joke that nobody understands. Everyone keeps asking me what happened, why Marcus left, why our perfect marriage imploded in less than 24 hours. They want the simple version where he overreacted or I'm the victim of his fragile ego. But the truth is I'm the one who ruined everything, and that joke was just the match I struck in a room I'd already soaked in gasoline. The worst part about what happened isn't that I made the joke. It's that some tiny horrible part of me meant it. And he knew. Somehow he knew. If I don't tell this story, you'll never understand why I'm sitting in our apartment alone right now, watching his mother remove the last of his things while she won't even look at me. But once you know what I know, you'll see why when Marcus walked out that door with his suitcase, he wasn't being dramatic. He was being smart. I'm going to tell you everything, including what I did 3 weeks before the joke, the thing that made it so much worse than just a careless comment. And the part that makes me look worst, I'm saving that for the end because you need to understand how I got here first. You need to see how someone can love their husband and simultaneously destroy him. It started at Rachel's dinner party. Actually, no, that's a lie already, and I promised myself I'd be honest. It started before that, but the dinner party was where I said it out loud, where I took all the little poisonous thoughts I'd been having and dressed them up as humor. Rachel's one of those friends who's always been just slightly ahead of me in life. Better apartment, better job, better engagement ring. And now, better husband. Daniel's a cardiothoracic surgeon. Marcus is a high school history teacher. I want to be clear that I never cared about that. I fell in love with Marcus because he's kind and funny and he cries during Pixar movies and he makes his students feel seen. I loved that about him. But somewhere in the past year I'd started keeping a mental tally, and I hated myself for it. At the dinner party there were 6 couples. Rachel and Daniel, me and Marcus. And 4 other pairs who all seemed to have their shit together in ways I was starting to question about my own life. The apartment was beautiful. The food was catered. Daniel kept casually mentioning their upcoming trip to the Maldives. Marcus showed up late because he'd stayed after school to help a student with a college essay. He was still wearing the same khakis he'd worn all week because he'd forgotten to pick up his dry cleaning. Again. When he walked in, flustered and apologizing, I felt this flash of something ugly. Embarrassment? Resentment? I don't know, but I felt it. The joke came later after wine. After Daniel told a story about saving someone's life in the OR. After the other husbands talked about their promotions and their investment portfolios and their whatever. Marcus had been mostly quiet, contributing when he could, but the conversation kept drifting to places where his work stories about teaching teenagers the Louisiana Purchase just couldn't compete. Someone asked me how we met. I told this story 100 times. I loved this story. College, a terrible campus production of Grease, Marcus playing Danny and me doing costumes. He'd ripped his pants during rehearsal, and I'd fixed them while he stood there in his boxers, making me laugh so hard I could barely thread the needle. But that night, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was watching Rachel touch Daniel's arm while she looked at him like he'd hung the moon. Maybe it was the way I'd started to notice all the little ways my life looked different from what I'd imagined at 22. I told the meeting story, and everyone laughed at the right parts. And then Rachel said, "You guys are so perfect together, like relationship goals honestly." And I said it. Just tossed it out there like it was nothing. I mean, sometimes I think maybe I married the wrong guy, but at least he makes me laugh. I said it with a smile, with a laugh. I reached over and squeezed Marcus's hand like it was just playful teasing between comfortable married people. The table got quiet for exactly 2 seconds. Then someone laughed nervously and someone else changed the subject and the moment passed. Except Marcus's hand went completely still in mine, not tense, just still like all the life had drained out of it. He didn't say anything, not then. He smiled when I looked at him, even laughed a little, and I thought maybe it was fine. Maybe he understood it was just a joke, just me being self-deprecating or whatever. We stayed another hour. He was normal. We left normal. Just when I thought I'd gotten away with it, just when I thought we'd get in the car and drive home and never mention it, he said quietly, "That was a shitty thing to say." We were walking to the parking lot. I was a little drunk, feeling loose and defended. "What? It was a joke, Marcus, obviously a joke." "Was it?" "Of course it was. Jesus, you're so sensitive." He unlocked the car and we both got in. The silence felt different than our normal, comfortable silences. This one had weight. "I stay late 3 nights a week to help kids who don't have anyone else helping them," he said, staring straight ahead. "I forgot my dry cleaning because I was writing college recommendations. I'm sorry my job isn't impressive enough for your friends." "That's not what I meant, you're twisting it." "Then what did you mean?" I didn't have an answer, not one I wanted to say out loud. So I said what people always say when they've been cruel and know it: "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" "It was a joke." We drove home in silence. We went to bed without talking, and in the morning he acted like everything was fine, so I did too. But here's what I haven't told anyone yet, the thing that makes the joke so much worse: 3 weeks before Rachel's dinner party, I'd kissed someone else. Not a long kiss, not an affair, just a kiss. At a work conference in Austin, at a hotel bar, with a consultant named Derek who was everything Marcus wasn't. Confident, polished, expensive suit, talking about his startup like he was going to change the world. He bought me drinks and listened to me talk about my job like it mattered, like I was impressive, and when he leaned in at the end of the night, I let him. For maybe 10 seconds I let him. Then I pulled away, said I was married, went to my room and cried for an hour. I never told Marcus. I told myself it didn't count, that it was barely anything, that I'd stopped it before it became something. But I felt it sitting in my chest like a stone. And at that dinner party when I made that joke, some part of me was testing something. Seeing if Marcus would fight for me, seeing if he'd get jealous or mad or show me that I was worth getting upset over. I know how fucked up that sounds. I do. The week after the dinner party was weird. Marcus was polite but distant. We had conversations about groceries and bills and whose turn it was to clean the bathroom, but nothing real. I kept waiting for him to bring it up again so I could apologize properly, but he never did. I thought maybe we were moving past it. That's what I told myself anyway. Then came the Saturday. We were having breakfast and I was scrolling through Instagram and one of our wedding photos popped up in my memories. 4 years ago. Us looking stupidly happy, Marcus dipping me in a kiss, my dress fanning out around us. I showed him the phone. Look how cute we were. He glanced at it and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, you okay? I'm fine. You don't seem fine. You've been weird all week. He set down his coffee. Have you been happy, like actually happy with us? The question caught me off guard. Of course, why would you ask that? The joke, what you said at Rachel's, I keep thinking about it. Marcus, I told you it was just a stupid joke. But why would you make that joke? Who says that about their husband in front of people? I felt defensive immediately, like he was attacking me for something I'd already apologized for, even though I hadn't really apologized at all. You're seriously still upset about that? It's been a week. I'm not upset, I'm asking if you meant it. No, obviously not. God, why are you being like this? He looked at me for a long moment and I could see him deciding something. Then he said, I think you did mean it, at least a little. That's insane. Is it? Because you've seemed, I don't know, distant lately, like you're comparing our life to everyone else's and we're coming up short. He was right. He was completely right, and I hated that he could see it. So I did what I always do when I'm cornered. I went on the offensive. Maybe I have been comparing, I said. Maybe I'm tired of being the only one who seems to care about building a real future. You're content to just coast along, teaching the same classes every year, making the same salary, never pushing for more. I watched my words hit him. Actually watched his face change. More what? He asked quietly. I don't know, more everything, more money, more ambition, more something. I love my job, I'm good at it, I make a difference. I know that, I'm not saying you don't. Then what are you saying? Everyone online thought I was fine, but privately I was screaming. I was screaming because I didn't know how to explain that I loved him but sometimes felt like I was suffocating. That I wanted the life we had and also a completely different life. That I'd kiss someone else and it meant nothing and everything at the same time. I'm saying maybe we want different things now than we did when we got married, I said. The words just came out. I didn't plan them. And the second they were in the air, I wanted to take them back. Marcus stood up, his chair scraped against the floor. Okay what? Okay, maybe you're right. Then he walked into our bedroom and closed the door. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, my heart pounding, waiting for him to come back out so we could fight properly or reconcile or something. Instead, I heard drawers opening, closing, opening again. When I finally went to check on him, he had a suitcase on the bed, half full. What are you doing? He didn't look at me, just kept folding shirts. I think I should stay at my brother's for a while. Marcus, come on, we had a fight, couples fight. This isn't a fight, you just told me we want different things. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I didn't know, I still don't know. So I just stood there while he packed, my mind racing through every possible thing I could say to make him stop, but my mouth wouldn't form any of the words. Say something, he said, finally looking at me. Tell me I'm wrong, tell me you're happy with us, with me, with our boring teacher salary life. Tell me you don't wish you'd married someone else. This was my moment. This was where I could fix it. All I had to do was tell him the truth, that I loved him, that I was being an idiot, that I was projecting my own insecurities onto our marriage, that the kiss meant nothing, that the joke meant nothing, that he was everything. But there's something about being pushed to declare your feelings that makes you freeze up. Some stubborn, self-destructive part of me that refuses to be vulnerable even when everything's on the line. So instead I said, I think some space might be good for both of us. I thought I was calling his bluff. I thought he'd stop packing and we'd finally have the real conversation we needed to have. He zipped up the suitcase. Okay then, Marcus, I'll call you when I'm ready to talk. He walked past me out of our bedroom, through our living room and out the door. He didn't slam it. He didn't yell. He just left, without a word, without a fight, without giving me anything to push back against. I stood in our apartment thinking he'd be back in a few hours. By that night I thought he'd be back the next day. I sent him a few texts, casual ones, nothing too desperate, asking if he was okay, saying we should talk. He responded once, I need time. That was 4 days ago. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, his mother called this morning to ask if she could come pick up more of his things. Not him, his mother. She was cold on the phone, professional, like I was a landlord she was coordinating with. When she arrived, I tried to explain. Tried to tell her it was just a fight, that Marcus was being dramatic, that we'd work it out. She looked at me the way you'd look at a stranger who'd rear-ended your car. He told me what you said, at the dinner party and after. I always liked you, but I guess I didn't know you as well as I thought. It was a joke, a stupid joke. My son isn't a joke, his life's work isn't a joke. The fact that you think it is tells me everything I need to know. She packed his winter clothes, his childhood box of things he'd kept in our closet, and the photo of his dad who passed away when he was 12. That's when it hit me that this might not be temporary. That photo had been on his nightstand for our entire relationship. If he wanted it at his brother's, he was planning to stay there a while. After she left, I did what any disaster does in 2024. I went online. Posted a vague story on Instagram, just a sunset photo with some quote about growth and change. Within an hour, 3 friends had texted asking if Marcus and I were okay. I lied to all of them. Said we were fine, because what was I supposed to say? That I casually suggested I married the wrong person and my husband had taken me seriously. That I'd pushed and pushed until he actually left. Rachel called that afternoon. I almost didn't answer, but I was desperate to talk to someone. I heard Marcus is staying with his brother, she said, no preamble. How did you? Daniel ran into him at the gym. He said you guys are separating. We're not separating, we're just taking space. Because of what you said at dinner. I felt my defenses go up immediately. It wasn't just that, there's a lot you don't know. So explain it to me. And here's the thing, I couldn't. Because explaining it would mean admitting that I'd been nursing resentment over things that weren't Marcus's fault. That I'd been comparing our marriage to everyone else's highlight reels. That I'd kissed someone else and was taking my guilt out on my husband. It's complicated, I said. Kat, you made a joke about marrying the wrong guy in front of all our friends, and now he's moved out. It doesn't seem that complicated. You don't understand. Then help me understand. But I couldn't, so I told her I had to go and hung up. That night I went through our photos, all of them from the beginning. There we were at his sister's wedding, dancing badly and laughing. There we were on our honeymoon in Savannah, sunburned and happy. There we were last Christmas, wearing matching ridiculous pajamas his mom had given us. In every single photo, he's looking at me like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. And in every single photo, I'm looking at the camera. I never noticed that before. How even when he was gazing at me with complete adoration, I was always checking to see how we looked from the outside. Making sure we were Instagram-worthy. Making sure the angle was right. That's when I started crying. Really crying, not the angry tears I'd shed before, but the kind that come from somewhere deep and true. I thought about the night he proposed. We were in our apartment, this same apartment I'm sitting in right now, and he'd made my favorite dinner. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti carbonara and garlic bread. He'd lit candles and put on the playlist we'd made together in college. There was no ring. He couldn't afford one yet. He just got down on one knee in our tiny kitchen and said, I know I can't give you everything, but I can give you me, all of me, for the rest of my life. And I promise I'll spend every day trying to make you as happy as you make me. It said yes immediately. I didn't care about the ring. I didn't care that we were broke or that our apartment was the size of a shoebox or that he was going to be a teacher instead of a doctor or lawyer or whatever. I loved him, completely, without reservation. When did that change, or did it never change, and I just started letting other people's perceptions matter more than my own feelings? I tried calling him 3 times, each time it went to voicemail. The 4th time I left a message. Marcus, please call me back. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't want space. I want you. Please come home so we can talk about this. He didn't call back. The next day I went to his brother's apartment. I knew I probably shouldn't, that I should respect the space he'd asked for, but I couldn't stand the silence anymore. His brother Jake answered the door. He's always liked me, or at least I thought he had, but the look he gave me was pure ice. He doesn't want to see you. I just need 5 minutes, please. Kat, he's been a fucking mess since Saturday. I don't think I've ever seen him like this, so no, you don't get 5 minutes, you've done enough. I know I messed up. I just want to apologize. You told him you married the wrong person. What kind of apology fixes that? I didn't mean it, it was a stupid joke. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know what Marcus said to me yesterday? He said he always felt like he was punching above his weight with you, like he couldn't believe someone like you would choose someone like him, and he spent your whole marriage trying to be enough, even though he was already more than enough. He was just too good to see that you didn't think so. The words hit me like a physical blow. That's not true, I never thought. He's not coming to the door, Kat, go home. He closed it in my face. I sat in my car outside their building for 20 minutes, hoping Marcus would see me from a window and come down. He didn't. Everyone thinks they know what happened, but the real story will change how you see everything. See, I haven't told you the worst part yet. The thing that makes me completely irredeemable in this situation. The night before the dinner party, Marcus and I were lying in bed, and out of nowhere he said, "Do you ever think about what our life would have been like if we'd made different choices?" I asked what he meant. Like if you'd taken that job in New York when we graduated, or if I'd gone into corporate training instead of teaching. Do you think we'd be happier? I told him I was happy with our choices, with our life. He seemed satisfied with that answer and fell asleep. But I didn't. I laid there thinking about that job in New York I turned down to stay near him, thinking about the apartment we could have had, the salary I could have made, the life that might have been. And the next night at Rachel's dinner party when I made that joke, I was answering his question. I was telling him that yes, actually, I did think about our different choices, and maybe I regretted some of them. I was punishing him for asking a question that made me confront my own dissatisfaction. How fucked up is that? On Wednesday I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our shared phone account and checked his call history. I know that's a violation of privacy and trust and everything else. But I was desperate to know what he was thinking, who he was talking to, if he was planning to come back. Most of the calls were to his mom, his brother, a few friends. But there was one number that appeared 3 times. A number I didn't recognize. Each call was over an hour long. I Googled it. It was a divorce attorney's office. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. Divorce. He was already looking into divorce. We'd been separated for less than a week and he was talking to lawyers. I thought about calling the office, pretending to be him, asking what they'd discussed. But even in my spiraling state, I knew that was too far. Instead, I texted him, "Are you seriously talking to divorce lawyers already?" He responded within minutes, "You went through my phone records. We need to talk about this, please. I can't believe you'd invade my privacy like that. I can't believe you're talking to lawyers without even trying to work this out. What is there to work out, Kat? You don't want to be married to me. You made that pretty clear." I never said that. You said you married the wrong guy. As a joke. And then when I asked you to tell me you were happy with us, you said space would be good. You looked me in the eye and let me walk out the door. He was right. He was completely, utterly right. I could have stopped him at any moment and I didn't. I was scared, I typed. I was scared of being vulnerable. I was scared of admitting that I've been struggling with some stuff that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with my own insecurities. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. What stuff? This was my opening, my chance to tell him about the kiss, about the comparisons, about all of it. To be completely honest, for the first time since this started. But I chickened out, again. Just work stuff, feeling stuck in my career, watching everyone else succeed, taking it out on you when you didn't deserve it. The dots appeared and stayed there for a long time. Finally, I think we both need to figure out what we really want. I'm not ready to talk yet. That was 2 days ago. Since then, nothing. Complete radio silence. I've been living in this apartment like a ghost, going through the motions of work and life while everything inside me screams. I keep rehearsing conversations we might have, explanations I might give, apologies that might actually work. But none of them feel adequate. How do you apologize for making someone feel like they're not enough? How do you take back words that revealed what you really think, even if you didn't know you thought it until it came out of your mouth? Last night I was scrolling through old texts between us and I found one from a year ago. He'd sent it during his lunch break, just had a student tell me I'm the reason he's going to college. Days like this I remember why I do this job. Hope your day is going well. Love you. I'd responded, "That's great, stuck in a meeting, talk later." No love you back. No acknowledgement of how meaningful that moment was for him. Just a dismissive response that prioritized my mundane work bullshit over his actual life-changing impact on a kid. And I found dozens more like it. Him sharing something meaningful, me responding with the emotional equivalent of a thumbs-up emoji. Him asking about my day, me giving one-word answers. Him suggesting date nights or weekend trips, me saying I was too tired or too busy. When did I become this person? When did I stop seeing my husband as a whole person and start seeing him as a supporting character in my life story? I made a list. Actually wrote it down on paper. All the things Marcus has done for me that I took for granted. He learned to make my grandmother's soup recipe when she died because he knew it comforted me. He gets up early every Sunday to get my favorite pastries from the bakery across town. He reads my work emails when I'm stressed and helps me craft responses. He talks to his students about their problems and then comes home emotionally exhausted. And instead of expecting me to take care of him, he asks about my day first. He's never once made me feel bad about making more money than him, even though I know society makes men feel like shit about that. He cried when we had to put down our cat last year, and he dug the grave in our building's garden himself because he wanted to do it right. He's a good man, better than I deserve. And I humiliated him in front of our friends because what? Because I'm insecure, because I kissed some asshole at a conference and felt guilty, because I've been measuring our marriage against social media fantasies and found it wanting. This morning I went to the school where he teaches. I know, stalker behavior, harassment, all of it. But I didn't go in. I just sat in the parking lot during lunch, watching the building. I saw him come out with a few other teachers heading to their cars to grab food. He was laughing at something one of them said. He looked okay, Not broken, not devastated, just okay, and somehow that was worse than if he'd looked miserable. It meant he was already starting to move on, starting to imagine a life without me. One of the teachers was a woman about our age. Pretty. She touched his arm while they talked, and he smiled at her, and I felt something violent and possessive rise up in my chest. That's my husband, I thought. Mine. Except he's not, is he? Not anymore. Maybe not for a while now. Maybe I gave him up piece by piece every time I chose my phone over conversation with him, every time I sighed when he talked about his students, every time I made him feel like his dreams were smaller than mine. I drove home and found our wedding vows. We'd written them ourselves. Mine said, I promise to choose you every day, even on the days when it's hard. I promise to see you, really see you, and love what I find. I promise to build a life with you that's ours, not anyone else's version of what it should be. I broke every single one of those promises, not dramatically, not with affairs or abuse or obvious betrayals, just quietly, consistently over time. Death by 1,000 cuts of indifference. The thing nobody tells you about marriage is that it's not the big moments that kill it. It's not affairs or fights or disasters. It's the slow erosion of attention. It's the gradual shift from us against the world to me with you in the background. It's forgetting to keep choosing your person when other options start looking shinier. And the cruelest part, Marcus never stopped choosing me, not once, even when I gave him every reason to. I'm writing this now because his mother is coming back tomorrow to get the rest of his stuff. She called an hour ago to arrange it, and she mentioned, casually like she was talking about the weather, that Marcus is looking at apartments. His own place, not temporarily staying with his brother until we work this out. His own place. Like our marriage is already over in his mind, and now he's just handling the logistics. I asked if I could talk to him. She said he'd call me when he was ready, and I should respect his boundaries. Boundaries. From the man who used to call me in the middle of his workday just to hear my voice. Who couldn't fall asleep unless he was touching some part of me. Who said I was his favorite person in the world. I did this. I took that man and made him need boundaries from me. You want to know the absolute worst part? The thing I haven't admitted to anyone, including myself until right now. When I made that joke at the dinner party when I said maybe I married the wrong guy, there was a split second, less than a second, just a flash, where I looked at Marcus in his rumpled khakis and his earnest teacher energy, and I saw Derek from the conference. Confident, successful, impressive Derek, who made me feel impressive just by being interested in me. I compared them. In that moment, I actually compared my husband to a man I barely knew, a man who I'd kissed once in a moment of weakness. And Marcus, who knows me better than anyone, saw it happen on my face. That's why he left, not because of the words, but because he saw the comparison. He saw me weighing him against some fantasy and finding him lacking. The joke was just me saying out loud what my face had already confessed. I thought I was testing him by making that joke, seeing if he'd fight for me. But really, I was confessing. Confessing that I'd been unfaithful, not just physically with that one kiss, but emotionally for months. Confessing that I'd been entertaining thoughts of a different life, a different man, a different version of myself that was somehow better. And he heard the confession under the joke. Of course he did. He spent 8 years learning to read me. So when everyone asks what happened, when they want to know why Marcus left without a word, this is the truth: he left because I told him to. Maybe not with my words when he was packing, but with every action leading up to it. With every dismissive text and every heavy sigh and every wandering thought about whether the grass was greener somewhere else. He left because staying would have meant accepting a version of love that was conditional, comparative, constantly measuring him against alternatives. And he loved himself too much to accept that. I'm sitting here now, in our apartment that's about to become just my apartment, and I'm trying to figure out what I want. Not what I should want, not what would make the best story for our friends, but what I actually want. And here's what's terrifying: I don't know anymore. I thought I wanted Marcus to come back, to forgive me, to let me prove I could be better. But do I want that because I love him, or because I'm scared of being alone? Because I hate failing at something I'm supposed to be good at? Because being left is more humiliating than being the one who leaves? I spent so much time comparing our life to other people's that I forgot to check in with my own heart. And now I'm not sure I trust it to tell me the truth. Maybe that's the real reason I made the joke. Not to test Marcus, not to confess my infidelity, but to blow everything up so I wouldn't have to do the hard work of figuring out what I actually feel. It's easier to create a crisis than to sit with uncertainty. Marcus deserved better than that. Deserves better than that. Deserves better than me, honestly. His mom is coming at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I should pack up his things myself, make it easier, show some small kindness in this mess I've created. But I can't bring myself to do it. Packing his stuff feels like accepting that it's over, and I'm not ready for that yet. Or maybe I am ready, and I'm just too much of a coward to admit it. I keep thinking about what Jake said, that Marcus always felt like he was punching above his weight with me. The idea that he spent our whole marriage feeling not good enough is devastating. But what if he was right? Not that he wasn't good enough, but that I thought he wasn't. What does it say about me that my husband's primary feeling in our marriage was inadequacy? That the person who's supposed to make him feel loved and valued and seen actually made him feel like a consolation prize? I told myself for years that I was supportive, that I loved his passion for teaching even if it meant we'd never be rich, that I didn't care about the things other people cared about. But I did care. I cared so much that I resented him for not caring too. I cared so much that I let a stranger in an expensive suit make me feel more valuable in one night than my husband had in months, not because Marcus wasn't trying, but because I'd stopped letting it matter. The divorce papers will probably come soon. That's what talking to a lawyer means, right? He's preparing for the end while I'm still trying to figure out what went wrong. But I know what went wrong. I went wrong. I let the marriage become background noise while I obsessed over everyone else's frequency. I mistook comfort for complacency and familiarity for failure. I forgot that the things that made Marcus uncool at a dinner party, his earnestness, his emotional availability, his willingness to prioritize people over profit, were the same things that made him an incredible partner. I traded real for impressive, and now I have neither. If I could go back to that dinner party, I'd make a different joke. I'd say, I definitely married the right guy even if he does forget his dry cleaning. I'd squeeze his hand and mean it. I'd remember that his work stories about teenagers might not be as flashy as saving lives in an OR, but they're just as important. More important maybe because he's shaping the people who'll inherit the world. But I can't go back. I can only sit here in this apartment that still smells like his cologne, waiting for his mother to take the last pieces of him away. The worst part isn't losing him, though that's devastating enough. The worst part is knowing that I'm the villain in this story, not him. Not circumstance, not bad timing or incompatibility or any of the other things people blame when marriages fail. Me, I'm the reason our marriage is ending. Because I made a joke that wasn't a joke. Because I kissed someone else and let the guilt poison everything. Because I spent so much time looking at what we didn't have that I couldn't see what we did. And now it's too late, or maybe it's not. Maybe when his mom comes tomorrow, I'll refuse to let her take his things. Maybe I'll call him and tell him everything. The kiss, the comparisons, the way I've been drowning in my own inadequacy and dragging him down with me. Maybe I'll beg him to come home so we can do the actual work of rebuilding. Maybe, but probably not. Because the truth is I'm still not sure I want to do that work. I'm still not sure I can be the person he deserves. And staying with someone when you're not sure is just another form of cruelty. So I'll let his mom pack up his things. I'll sign whatever papers need signing. I'll tell our friends it was mutual, that we wanted different things, that sometimes love isn't enough. And late at night when I'm alone in this apartment, I'll know the real truth: love was enough. It was always enough. I just forgot how to let it be. That's my confession. That's what I did. I took a good man, a good marriage, a good life, and I picked at it until it fell apart. Not because there was anything wrong with it, but because I was too broken to appreciate what I had. Everyone thinks Marcus is the one who left. But really, I left first. I left months ago, bit by bit, every time I chose resentment over gratitude, comparison over contentment, fantasy over reality. He just made it official by packing a bag. And the worst part, the part that makes me completely irredeemable. Even now, even sitting here knowing I destroyed the best thing in my life, there's still a tiny voice in my head wondering if I did marry the wrong guy. Wondering if I'd be happier with someone else. Wondering if the problem was him all along. That's how deep the rot goes. That's how thoroughly I've poisoned my own mind. I don't know if I'll ever tell Marcus about the kiss. I don't know if it would make things better or worse. I don't know if he'll actually divorce me or if this is just a scare tactic to make me appreciate what I had. What I do know is that I said maybe I married the wrong guy as a joke, and he packed and left without a word. And whatever happens next, whatever papers get signed or conversations get had, I'll spend the rest of my life knowing that I earned every second of this silence.